My name is Celeste Okonkwo, and I am 30 years old. The smell of my mother's jollof rice used to mean safety. It used to mean Sunday afternoons with my grandmother humming hymns in the kitchen, my father's deep laugh echoing through the hallway, and the promise that no matter how hard the week had been, I would always have a place at the table. Tonight, on my 31st birthday, that smell means something different. It means the metallic tang of betrayal coating my tongue as I sit at the head of my parents' dining table, surrounded by people who share my blood but have never once shared my burden. The notification buzzes against my thigh at 7:47 p.m. I glance down at my phone, hidden beneath the white linen napkin my mother insisted on using for special occasions. The screen glows with a Chase Bank alert, transaction alert, for the $750 or so charged to your Visa, ending in 88891 at Luxury Auto Leasing. I don't own a luxury car. I drive a 2019 Honda Civic with 87,000 miles on it, because I've been too busy paying everyone else's bills to upgrade my own life. The fork in my brother Damon's hand scrapes against the porcelain plate, a sound like nails on a chalkboard that makes my jaw clench. He's cutting into his third piece of my birthday cake, the one I paid for because my mother forgot her wallet at home. So, Celeste, my mother begins, her voice carrying that particular tone she reserves for moments when she's about to deliver what she considers wisdom, but what I've learned to recognize as manipulation dressed in maternal concern. We need to talk about the house situation. The house situation. She means my house. The 3-bedroom Craftsman in Maple Heights that I saved for over 8 years. The house I closed on 6 months ago with a down payment of $67,000, money I scraped together while simultaneously paying my parents' property taxes, my brother's car insurance, and my sister, Yolanda's, emergency credit card bills. What about it? I ask, keeping my voice neutral. I've learned that showing emotion in this family is like bleeding in shark-infested waters. My father clears his throat. He's always been the silent partner in my mother's schemes. The man who nods along and pretends he doesn't see the imbalance, the favoritism, the slow bleeding of my resources into everyone else's pockets. Well, baby girl, my mother continues, and I hate how that term of endearment sounds like a leash. We've been thinking. You have all that space now, and Damon needs somewhere to stay while he gets back on his feet. Damon. My 36-year-old brother, who has been getting back on his feet for the past 15 years. The golden child who dropped out of 3 different colleges, all funded by my parents' retirement savings, and I later discovered $23,000 in Parent Plus loans taken out in my name without my knowledge. Damon has an apartment, I say. Had, my mother corrects. He's going through some things. Going through some things. The family euphemism for got evicted again, or spent his rent money on something stupid, or expects someone else to clean up his mess. I'm not taking in a roommate, Mom. The table goes quiet. My sister Yolanda, who has been scrolling through her phone and ignoring the conversation, looks up with interest. She can smell conflict like a bloodhound, and she's always eager to watch someone else take the heat so she can slip by unnoticed. A roommate? My mother's voice rises an octave. He's your brother, Celeste. Family. Family. That word has been weaponized against me my entire life. Family means I paid for Yolanda's community college tuition when she decided she wanted to find herself at 25. Family means I co-signed Damon's car loan when he was 28 and then made 18 months of payments when he forgot. Family means I've been the invisible support beam holding up this crumbling structure while everyone else got to live in the rooms I built. I said no. My mother's face transforms. The mask of maternal warmth slips, revealing something harder underneath, something I've seen glimpses of my whole life, but have always been too desperate for her approval to fully acknowledge. You know what your problem is, Celeste? You've always been selfish, always thinking about yourself. Your brother and sister, they understand what family means. But you? She shakes her head slowly, deliberately. You've always been the difficult one. The difficult one. I was the one who worked 2 jobs through college while Damon partied and Yolanda explored her options. I was the one who moved back home after graduation to help with the mortgage when my father's hours got cut. I was the one who delayed buying my own home for nearly a decade because every time I got close to my savings goal, there was another family emergency that required my financial intervention. I'm not being selfish, I say, and I hate how my voice wavers. I'm setting a boundary. A boundary. My mother laughs, but there's no humor in it. Listen to you. Talking like those self-help books you're always reading. Boundaries. In this family, we don't have boundaries. We have loyalty. Loyalty. Another weaponized word. Loyalty means I'm expected to give endlessly while receiving nothing in return. Loyalty means my needs are always secondary to everyone else's wants. Loyalty means I'm supposed to smile while they pick my pockets and call it love. Mama, I think what Celeste is trying to say, Yolanda begins, attempting her usual role as the peacemaker who never actually makes peace, just smooths things over until the next explosion. I know exactly what she's trying to say. My mother cuts her off. She's trying to say she's too good for us now, got her fancy job and her fancy house, and now she thinks she's better than the people who raised her. My fancy job is a mid-level position at a healthcare consulting firm where I make $78,000 a year. Good money, but not the fortune my family seems to think I'm hoarding. My fancy house has a leaky roof I can't afford to fix yet, and a furnace that makes concerning noises every time the temperature drops below 40 degrees. That's not what I'm saying at all. Then what are you saying, Celeste? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're turning your back on your own blood. I look around the table, at my father, who won't meet my eyes, at Damon, who's still eating cake like this conversation has nothing to do with him, at Yolanda, who's already back on her phone, at my mother, whose face is arranged in an expression of righteous indignation. And something inside me shifts. It's not a dramatic moment. There's no thunderclap of realization, no cinematic swell of music. It's just a quiet click, like a lock sliding into place, or maybe sliding open. I'm saying no, I repeat. And I'm saying that I'm tired of being the family ATM. The silence that follows is absolute. Even Damon stops chewing. Excuse me? My mother's voice is dangerously soft. You heard me. I stand up, pushing my chair back from the table. I've spent the last 12 years giving and giving and giving to this family. I've paid bills that weren't mine. I've co-signed loans I shouldn't have. I've put my own life on hold over and over again because someone always needed something, and I was always the one expected to provide it. We never asked you to. Yes, you did. I cut her off, and it feels like breaking through a wall I didn't even know I'd built around myself. Every time you called with an emergency, every time you guilted me about family loyalty, every time you made me feel like I was a bad daughter for wanting to save for my own future, you asked, you demanded, and I gave because I thought that's what love meant. My mother stands too, and for a moment, we're mirror images of each other. Same height, same stubborn set to our jaws, same fire in our eyes. But where her fire has always been used to control, mine is finally being used to break free. If that's how you feel, she says, each word dropping like a stone into still water, then maybe you should leave. Gladly. I grab my purse from the back of my chair. My phone buzzes again. Another notification I don't have time to check. As I walk toward the door, I hear my father's voice for the first time all evening. Celeste, wait, let's not do anything hasty. I turn back. Hasty? Dad, I've been thinking about this for years. I just never had the courage to say it out loud. You're being dramatic, Yolanda says, not looking up from her phone. Just apologize and sit back down. No. I open the front door, and the October air hits my face like a wake-up call. Behind me, I hear my mother's final words, delivered with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. You walk out that door, Celeste, and you're not welcome back. We don't need you. We never needed you. You were always the weakest one in this family, and we carried you. Remember that. The door closes behind me, and I stand on the porch of my childhood home, shaking. Not from the cold, from the weight of 31 years of conditioning finally cracking apart. They carried me. The lie is so enormous, so breathtakingly audacious, that I almost laugh. Almost. Instead, I walk to my car, sit in the driver's seat, and finally look at my phone. 2 notifications from Chase Bank. The first one I saw at dinner. $4,950 at Luxury Auto Leasing. The second one came while I was being disowned $2,200 at Nordstrom. I didn't make either of these charges. My hands are steady as I open my banking app. I navigate to my transaction history, scrolling back through the past month. What I see makes my blood run cold. 890 $. Amazon, I haven't ordered anything from Amazon in weeks. $1,450 Best Buy, I don't shop at Best Buy. $3,200 Delta Airlines, I haven't booked any flights. $675 Whole Foods, I shop at Aldi. 2,500 cars. Wire transfer to D. Okonkwo, I never authorized this. D. Okonkwo, Damon Okonkwo, my brother. Total unauthorized charges in the past 30 days, $25,765. I sit in my car for a long time, watching my breath fog the windshield, feeling the pieces of a puzzle I didn't know I was solving finally click into place. The next morning, I call in sick to work. I've never done this before. In 7 years at my company, I've taken exactly 4 sick days, and 3 of those were when I had the flu so badly I couldn't stand up without vomiting. But today, I have more important things to do than sit in meetings about healthcare policy optimization. Today, I'm going to find out exactly how deep this goes. I start with my credit report. I've always been responsible about checking it once a year, like the financial advisors recommend, but I haven't looked at it in about 8 months, not since I was finalizing my mortgage. The number that appears on my screen makes me physically ill. 8 months ago, my credit score was 782. Today, it's 621, a drop of 161 points in 8 months. I scroll through the report, my coffee growing cold beside me, my breakfast untouched. What I find is a horror story written in numbers and account names. Credit card opened in my name. Capital One Venture. Credit limit $15,000. Current balance $14,892. I didn't open this account. I've never had a Capital One card in my life. Credit card opened in my name. Discover it. Credit limit $10,000. Current balance $97,750. Same story. Personal loan from Upstart, $25,000. Current balance $23,400. I've never heard of Upstart. Auto loan from CarMax, $32,000. Current balance $28,900. I don't own a car from CarMax. I add up the numbers 3 times because I can't believe what I'm seeing. Total debt opened in my name without my knowledge or consent. $76,942. $76,000. Someone has stolen my identity and racked up nearly $80,000 in debt. And based on the wire transfer to D. Okonkwo, I have a pretty good idea who that someone is. But I need to be sure. I need evidence. I need receipts. I spend the next 6 hours in a state of focused fury that I didn't know I was capable of. I download 5 years of bank statements from every account I've ever had. I request detailed transaction histories from my credit cards. I pull my full credit report from all 3 bureaus. I create a spreadsheet that will become my Bible for the next 3 years. I call it the family balance. As I comb through the data, patterns emerge. Patterns I should have seen years ago if I hadn't been so desperate to believe that my family loved me, that their requests for help were genuine emergencies, that I was being a good daughter by giving until I had nothing left. The truth is uglier than I imagined. The Parent Plus loans I discovered years ago, those were just the beginning. I find evidence of a credit card opened in my name when I was 19, before I even had established credit of my own. The card was maxed out within 6 months and then closed, leaving a derogatory mark on my credit history that I never knew about because I never thought to check. I find payments I made to my parents' mortgage company, that were supposed to be temporary help during my father's reduced hours. More than $200 a month for 37 months? Total, 44 arbitus 400. My father's hours were never actually reduced. He took early retirement with a full pension and never told me. I find the car insurance payments I made for Damon. $340 a month for 18 months. Total, $620. His insurance was never actually that high. He was pocketing the difference. I find the emergency credit card bills I paid for Yolanda. $8,750 over 3 years. The emergencies were shopping sprees at Sephora and weekend trips to Miami. I find the wire transfers from my account to various family members over the past 5 years. $67,500. Money I sent for emergencies that were never emergencies, for investments that never existed, for opportunities that were just opportunities to take more from me. And then I find the big one, the one that makes everything else look like pocket change. 3 years ago, someone used my identity to take out a home equity line of credit on my parents' house. The amount, $150,000. The current balance, $142,000. The monthly payments, $118.90. The name on the account, Celeste Okonkwo. I never signed for this. I never agreed to this. I didn't even know it existed until this moment. But I know whose signature is on the documents. I know because I've seen my mother forge my signature before. On birthday cards she sent to relatives in my name, on thank you notes for gifts I never received, on family documents she didn't want to bother me with. I always thought it was harmless. I always thought she was just being efficient. I was wrong. Total amount stolen from me or fraudulently opened in my name. $360,157. $360,000. I sit back in my chair and stare at the number on my spreadsheet. It's more money than I've earned in my entire career. It's more than my house is worth. It's more than I can comprehend. And my family did this to me while calling me selfish, while telling me I was the difficult one, while kicking me out of their house on my birthday and telling me they never needed me. They didn't need me. They needed my credit score. They needed my signature. They needed my identity. I wasn't their daughter. I was their resource. The next 3 weeks are a masterclass in controlled demolition. I don't confront my family. I don't call them crying or screaming or demanding explanations. I don't give them any warning of what's coming. Instead, I build my case. I hire a forensic accountant named Margaret Chen, who specializes in family financial fraud. She costs $350 an hour, and she's worth every penny. Within a week, she's traced every fraudulent account, documented every forged signature, and created a timeline of theft that spans over a decade. This is one of the most comprehensive cases of family identity theft I've ever seen, she tells me during our third meeting. They were systematic, they were careful, and they clearly never expected you to find out. How did they get my information? I ask, even though I already know the answer. You grew up in that house, Margaret says. They had access to your social security card, your birth certificate, your first credit card statements. They probably started building your credit profile before you even knew what credit was. She's right. I remember my mother insisting on keeping my important documents in her filing cabinet for safekeeping. I remember her offering to help me set up my first bank account when I was 16. I remember her asking for my social security number for tax purposes every year, even after I'd been filing my own taxes for a decade. Every act of maternal care was actually an act of theft. I file a police report. The detective who takes my statement, a tired-looking woman named Rodriguez, doesn't seem surprised by anything I tell her. Family fraud is more common than people think, she says. Most victims never report it because they don't want to get their relatives in trouble. I want to get them in trouble, I say. I want them to face consequences. Detective Rodriguez nods slowly. Then you'll need to be prepared for what that means. Criminal charges, possible jail time, definitely a permanent rift in your family relationships. There's already a rift, I tell her. They just didn't know I could see it. I freeze my credit with all 3 bureaus. I change every password on every account I've ever had. I set up fraud alerts that will notify me of any attempt to open new credit in my name. I close the joint savings account I shared with my mother for emergencies and transfer the $4,200 balance to a new account at a different bank. I contact each of the fraudulent creditors and begin the long, painful process of disputing the accounts. Some of them are cooperative, others are not. One collections agent actually laughs at me when I explain that my mother forged my signature on a loan application. "Lady, do you know how many people try to claim their family stole their identity?" he says. "It's the oldest excuse in the book." "It's not an excuse," I say, keeping my voice steady. "It's the truth, and I have documentation." I send him the documentation. He stops laughing. I also contact the IRS. This is the part that makes my hands shake because I know what it means. I know that once I file this report, there's no going back. The IRS whistleblower program allows individuals to report tax fraud in exchange for a percentage of any recovered funds. My family has been claiming me as a dependent on their taxes for years after I moved out. They've been deducting the gifts I gave them as charitable contributions. They've been hiding income and inflating expenses and generally treating the tax code like a suggestion rather than a law. I don't care about the money I might receive from the whistleblower program. I care about the message it sends. You can't steal from me and get away with it. 6 weeks after my birthday, I send the letter. It's not a dramatic confrontation. It's not a tearful phone call. It's a certified letter sent to my parents' address with copies to Damon and Yolanda. The letter is 3 pages long and includes the following: a complete accounting of all funds stolen from me or fraudulently obtained in my name, totaling $360,157. Copies of the police report I filed. Copies of the fraud disputes I've submitted to all creditors. A cease and desist notice demanding that they stop using my personal information for any purpose. A 48-hour notice informing them that if they do not contact me to arrange restitution, I will pursue criminal charges to the fullest extent of the law. And a single sentence at the bottom of the last page: I am no longer your daughter, I am your creditor. Act accordingly. The phone calls start within hours of the letter's delivery. My mother calls 17 times. I don't answer. My father calls twice. I don't answer. Damon calls once, probably by accident. I don't answer. Yolanda texts me a single message: WTF is wrong with you? I don't respond. Instead, I sit in my house, the one I bought with money I earned, the one no one can take from me, and I wait. The 48 hours pass. No one contacts me to arrange restitution. No one apologizes. No one admits to anything. I'm not surprised. I'm not even disappointed. I'm just ready. I call Detective Rodriguez and tell her to proceed with the criminal investigation. I call Margaret Chen and tell her to prepare the civil lawsuit. I call my therapist and tell her I'm going to need extra sessions for the foreseeable future. And then I pour myself a glass of wine, sit on my back porch, and watch the sun set over my tiny backyard with its overgrown grass and its chain link fence and its complete and total freedom from the people who were supposed to love me. It's the most peaceful I've felt in years. The fallout begins slowly, then all at once. The first sign is Damon's Instagram going dark. One day he's posting pictures of his new car, the one leased with my stolen credit. His designer clothes bought with my stolen money. His nights out at expensive clubs, funded by my identity. The next day, his account is private, and then it's gone entirely. The second sign is my mother's Facebook posts becoming increasingly desperate. She starts a GoFundMe for unexpected medical expenses that raises $340 before someone reports it as fraudulent. She posts vague messages about family betrayal and children who forget where they came from. She shares articles about toxic positivity and boundaries that go too far. I screenshot everything. Margaret says it might be useful for the civil case. The third sign is the foreclosure notice. I find out about it from a cousin who still talks to me, one of the few family members who never asked me for money and therefore never became complicit in the theft. She sends me a photo of the notice taped to my parents' front door. Bank of America hereby notifies the occupants of this property that foreclosure proceedings have been initiated due to non-payment of the mortgage and home equity line of credit. The home equity line of credit, the one taken out in my name, the one I reported as fraud. When I disputed that account, I didn't just clear my name. I also triggered an investigation into the original loan. The bank discovered that the signatures were forged, that the income verification was falsified, that the entire application was built on lies. They want their money back, all $142,000 of it. And since the loan was fraudulent, my parents are now personally liable for the full amount. They can't pay it. Of course they can't. They've been living beyond their means for decades, funding their lifestyle with my stolen credit and their children's futures. Without the magic money flowing in, the whole house of cards is collapsing. I should feel guilty. Part of me. The part that was trained from birth to put family first, to sacrifice myself for their comfort, to believe that their happiness was more important than my own. That part of me wants to call them and offer to help. I don't. Instead, I add the foreclosure notice to my file and continue with my life. 3 years pass. In that time, I pay off the legitimate debts I actually owe. I repair my credit score, which climbs back up to 741. I get promoted twice at work and now make $112,000 a year. I finish fixing the leaky roof and replace the concerning furnace. I adopt a cat named Justice, who is fat and orange and completely indifferent to my emotional needs, which I find refreshing after a lifetime of being needed too much. I also watch my family's destruction from a safe distance. Damon is arrested for check fraud 6 months after I filed my reports. He serves 8 months in county jail and comes out with a felony record that makes him essentially unemployable. Last I heard, he's living in a halfway house and working at a fast food restaurant. Yolanda's husband divorces her when he discovers she's been hiding $45,000 in credit card debt. Debt she accumulated trying to maintain the lifestyle she'd grown accustomed to when I was funding it. She moves back in with our parents, which would be fine, except our parents no longer have a house. The foreclosure went through. My parents now rent a 2-bedroom apartment in a part of town they used to call sketchy. My father's pension covers the rent barely. My mother had to get a job for the first time in 20 years. She works at a grocery store, bagging other people's purchases. And according to my cousin, she tells everyone who will listen that her daughter ruined her life. She's not wrong. I did ruin her life, the life she built on my stolen identity and my broken back. I don't feel guilty about it. I feel free. The criminal case against my mother resulted in a plea deal. 5 years of probation, mandatory restitution payments of $500 a month, which she can barely afford, and a felony conviction for identity theft that will follow her for the rest of her life. The civil case resulted in a judgment in my favor for $306,157 plus interest and legal fees, totaling $412,000. I will never see most of that money. You can't get blood from a stone, and you can't get restitution from people who have spent everything they ever had, including things that weren't theirs to spend. But the judgment exists. It's on the record. It's proof that what they did to me was real, was wrong, was illegal. It's proof that I wasn't the difficult one. I was the victim. The knock on my door comes on a Tuesday evening in October. I'm not expecting anyone. I've become something of a hermit in the years since I cut off my family. Not because I'm hiding, but because I've discovered that I actually enjoy my own company. I like the quiet of my house, the routine of my days, the absence of drama and demands and guilt. Justice meows at me from his perch on the back of the couch, annoyed that I'm disturbing his evening nap by getting up to answer the door. I look through the peephole and freeze. My mother stands on my porch. She looks older than I remember, grayer, smaller, more worn. Behind her, I can see my father's car parked at the curb, engine still running. Damon is in the passenger seat, and Yolanda is in the back. The whole family come to call. I consider not answering. I consider calling the police. There's a restraining order in place, after all, part of the criminal case settlement. I consider simply walking away and letting them stand there until they give up. But something makes me open the door. Maybe it's curiosity. Maybe it's the need for closure. Maybe it's the part of me that still, after everything, wants to understand how the people who were supposed to love me could have hurt me so completely. Celeste. My mother's voice is different than I remember. Softer. More uncertain. Can we talk? You're violating your restraining order, I say. I could have you arrested. I know. She doesn't move. But I needed to see you. We all did. I look past her at the car. At my father, who won't meet my eyes. At Damon, who's staring at his phone. At Yolanda, who's watching me with an expression I can't read. Why? My mother takes a deep breath. Because we need your help. I almost laugh. Almost. You need my help. The apartment, we're being evicted. Your father's pension isn't enough, and with the restitution payments, we can't. She stops, swallows, tries again. We don't have anywhere else to go. And you thought you'd come here. It's a family home, she says, and there's something in her voice that sounds almost like she believes it. We thought, your father and I, we thought maybe we could stay here, just until we get back on our feet. It wouldn't be forever, just a few months. A family home. The words hit me like a physical blow, not because they hurt. I'm past the point where my mother's manipulation can hurt me, but because of the sheer audacity of them. Let me make sure I understand, I say slowly. You stole my identity. You racked up hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt in my name. You destroyed my credit. You lied to me for years. You kicked me out of your house on my birthday and told me I was the weakest one in the family. I pause, letting each word land. And now you're standing on my porch, asking to move into my home because you think it's family property? My mother's face hardens. For a moment, I see the woman I grew up with. The one who could make me feel guilty with a single look, who could twist any situation until I was the one apologizing, who could take and take and take while convincing me I was the selfish one. We raised you, she says. We fed you. We clothed you. We gave you everything. You gave me nothing, I say. Everything I have, I earned. Everything you have, you stole. From me? That's not fair. Fair? I step out onto the porch, and my mother takes an involuntary step back. You want to talk about fair? Let me show you something. I pull out my phone and open the file I've kept updated for 3 years. The family balance. The complete accounting of everything they took from me. $157, I say, holding the screen up so she can see. That's how much you stole. That's how much you owe me. That's the price of your family love. My mother's eyes flick to the screen, then away. Those numbers aren't, we didn't, you did. It's documented, it's proven. It's why you have a felony, conviction, and a restitution order and a restraining order that you're currently violating. Celeste, please. My father has gotten out of the car and is walking toward us. He looks even older than my mother, beaten down in a way I've never seen before. We're your parents. Doesn't that mean anything? I look at him. This man who stood by and watched while his wife stole from his daughter, who never once intervened, who chose complicity over integrity every single time. It used to mean everything, I say. It used to mean I would do anything for you. Give anything, sacrifice anything. But you taught me what family really means to you. It means taking. It means using. It means treating your children like resources to be exploited rather than people to be loved. That's not true, my mother says, but her voice is weak. It is true, and the proof is standing right here. I gesture at the 4 of them, my broken, desperate family, come to beg from the daughter they threw away. You didn't come here because you love me. You came here because you need something from me. Again. Still. Always. Damon has gotten out of the car now too. He won't look at me. He's staring at the ground, shoulders hunched, a shadow of the golden child he used to be. Celeste, he says quietly. I'm sorry. It's the first time he's ever apologized to me for anything. The first time he's ever acknowledged that he did something wrong. It's not enough. Sorry doesn't pay back the money you stole, I say. Sorry doesn't fix my credit score. Sorry doesn't give me back the years I spent working myself to the bone while you lived off my labor. I know. He finally looks up, and I see something in his eyes that might be genuine remorse. Or might be another manipulation. I can't tell anymore, and I've stopped trying. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I wanted you to know. Yolanda is still in the car. She hasn't moved, hasn't spoken. She's always been the one who slipped by while everyone else was fighting, the one who took without ever being held accountable. What about you? I call to her. Anything to say? She rolls down the window. I didn't do anything, she says. This is between you and Mom and Damon. I'm just here because they needed a ride. Classic Yolanda. Always the innocent bystander. Never responsible for anything. You took $8,650 from me over 3 years, I say. Emergency credit card bills, remember? Except they weren't emergencies. They were shopping sprees. That was different. You offered to help. I offered to help with emergencies. You lied about what the money was for. I didn't lie. I just didn't give you all the details. I turn back to my mother. This is what you raised, I say. Children who steal and lie and justify and never, ever take responsibility. Congratulations. My mother's face crumples. For a moment, she looks like she might cry. But then her expression hardens again, and I see the familiar mask slide back into place. Fine, she says. If that's how you want to be, if you want to turn your back on your own family over money, it's not about the money. I cut her off, and my voice is steady, calm, certain. It was never about the money. It